Did Sony just lie to everyone about Marathon? Because just 4 days ago, on June 13th, we were told that Marathon was still locked in for its September release. No delays, full commitment, and everything was apparently on track when it came to the game. And well, that did not last long at all, because today is June 17th and Marathon has been officially delayed indefinitely. There's no new date, there's no clear timeline, just a quiet walk back on a promise that was made less than a week ago. And honestly, if you've been paying attention, this should not be a shock. The writing's been on the wall for a while now. From the moment gameplay was revealed, the backlash from the community was loud and immediate. Longtime fans of Bungie were confused by the direction of the studio, new players didn't see the appeal of the title, and the feedback was absolutely brutal. There was no way this game was launching in September and landing well. It's disappointing, but also kind of inevitable at this point. Now, if you're not familiar with the drama going on with Marathon, let me break it down for you real quick because it's been a mess. Back in April, Bungie held a live playtest for the game, and while the gameplay looked fine overall, it had smooth movement and solid gunplay, the world itself felt honestly completely dead. That was one of the most common feedback from players. The game just didn't feel alive. It didn't feel like a game that was coming out in less than 6 months. There was nothing to really come back for, and that was the problem. The game wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. So in a nutshell, this game was not going to pull players away from Escape from Tarkov, the Finals, or any other extraction shooter that is going to be coming out in the next couple of months. It existed, and that was kind of the problem. And then May hit, and things somehow got worse for the studio. A massive scandal broke out when it was revealed that Bungie had allegedly stolen art assets to use in the game. And I don't mean like borrow a little bit of there, a little bit of here. I mean full on theft from independent artists on Twitter. And once that got out, the internet torched Bungie. Players started boycotting the game altogether, and the media pounced on the opportunity to add more bad press to Marathon. And suddenly, Marathon wasn't just a mid-tier extraction shooter anymore. It was a controversy magnet. Between the failed playtest and the stolen art fallout, morale at Bungie honestly hit an all-time low. The devs were reportedly frustrated with the lack of feedback from the upper management. The internal feedback was honestly not great as well, and the game clearly was not in the shape it needed to be for launch. So then came the Summer Game Fest, and Sony stepped in to clean up the PR mess that was happening with Marathon. They made a bold claim that Marathon will not fail. They were all in and committed to the September release and confident that they could turn it around before launch. But then today happened. Marathon has now been delayed indefinitely. There's no new date, there's no roadmap, just silence at this point. And look, I get it 100%. This is a shock if you have not been following all the behind the scenes chaos, but to anyone paying attention, this felt inevitable. So what does an indefinite delay even mean? Realistically, it's one of two things. Either Bungie is scrapping the game entirely and moving on to something new, or they're planning a full-blown overhaul on the game. And I'm talking about core gameplay mechanics, new art direction, stripped assets from the game. The whole thing is going to be rebooted from the ground up. And knowing Sony and from the things that they said so far, we're more than likely leaning into the territory of this being a full-blown overhaul for the game. They're not going to cancel it and scrap it like they did Concord or other games in the past. They are committed to Marathon being the next big live service game for PlayStation. And honestly, this is probably a smart move by Sony. And yeah, it sucks and it's frustrating, but it's better than launching another Redfall or Concord where everyone sees the game is going to crash and they still ship it out anyways. Now they have a chance to actually fix it if they actually want to do that. And now you can go ahead and add Marathon to the ever-growing list of canceled or indefinitely delayed live service games Sony has been trying to push. And this isn't just about one game failing, it's about a much bigger pattern. Over the past few years, Sony's been quietly shifting a lot of its resources and talent toward building a live service empire, and so far, it's not looking great. These games either get delayed into oblivion, launch in a rough state, or vanish before they even get a chance to prove themselves. And with Marathon now out of the picture, or at least for the foreseeable future, this leaves another very visible stain on Sony's live service push. It kind of begs the question, what are we doing here at this point? Maybe it's time for Sony to get back to doing what it does best, making incredible single-player story-driven games, because that's their identity. That's what built their fan base. Leave the live service grind fest to third-party studios that know how to live and die by that model. Not every studio under the PlayStation banner needs to chase that golden goose. Because if we're being real here, Sony's only had one live service win in this entire experiment so far, and that has been Helldivers II. That's it. And as great as Helldivers II has been, It was carried by smart design, community engagement, and a dev team that knew what they were doing from the get-go. That game is the exception at this point, not the standard. So maybe it's time to admit that this whole live service pivot, it might have been a flop by Sony. And that's not the worst thing in the world. Not every studio needs to be in that space. But if Sony keeps forcing these projects into existence just because it's what the market wants, we're going to keep seeing games like Marathon fall apart before they even get off the ground. So what do you think? Is Sony's live service experiment dead in the water at this point, or do they still have time to turn this whole thing around? Let me know down in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching.